Welcome back to Just Giants, your favorite Giants podcast. I'm the football grump. With me, as always, is Mike, the Cranky fan. This intro is a little messed up, but that's okay because we still have a great show tonight. We're previewing the Cincinnati Bengals at home at MetLife Stadium Sunday night against the Giants under the lights. It's a little frigid. It's starting to get frosty here in October, a little bit early.
I like it.
Yeah. And I am ready for a night game. I'm ready for the weather. It feels like football season, and the Giants almost look like a football team now. How are you doing, Cranky fan?
I'm doing well. First of all, thank you for everybody who reached out worrying about my family and friends down in Florida. It seems like almost everybody got really lucky, just some minor things going on, nothing of any significance. So thank you for everybody. And, if you want to donate down there, because a lot of people did not do well, Red Cross is always where I recommend people go to. So we'll put those in show notes and everything. But other than that, I am really well. Unfortunately, I have to miss the game this weekend. I will be in Atlanta with my refugee parents who had to evacuate to celebrate Cranky Mom's 80th birthday. So congrats to her.
And I will be there. So there's always that. I'm excited for that. And the last time that we were at home was against the Dallas Cowboys. And I forgot to mention this because we were pissed about the game. And I was like, I'll mention it on the preview show. And then I forgot again. I don't think we talked about this. So you tell me if we already brought this up. In the offseason, Cranky Fan received in the mail suggestions from the Giants organization as to how to change the vibes or, whatever in the stadium.
Yes, go ahead.
And I meant you were adamant about, I guess not adamant, but your position was that the vibes are fine. We're a classic team. Don't be searching. Don't be trying too hard. And I'm with you, but I did make some suggestions that I think stayed along the same vibe line. Mm-hmm. And they played one. They played Freedom by Rage Against the Machine, which that was like the more obscure, you know what I mean? I don't remember what the circumstances were because I wasn't, I think I was more invested in the game. And then they got about 3 bars into the song and I smacked Cranky on the arm. I was like, this is Rage. This is Freedom.
Yeah.
So how about that? Do you think there is even 1% chance that came from me?
Well, considering I didn't put it on my...
Okay, then never mind.
Hey, I could care less, but the guy who sits next to me who doesn't have season tickets or anything, he thinks you should play it. And Mara was like, I don't care what you say, season ticket holder, but your friend over there, I'll play it for him. So
yeah, well, I mean, I know Mara is a friend of the show.
He is,
and he loves when we shit all over him.
Shout out for that $5 a month Patreon. You're the only person subscribed, so thank you.
Yeah.
You'll get your stickers in the mail at some point.
Also, this show is sponsored by Pepsi. So, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was funny. I thought it was cool, and of course, I'm on board with the music choice. I hope that they stay with it.
It's one of those. It's a Rage song that if you just listen to the radio, you may not know the Rage song, but if you're a Rage fan. When I saw them at the Garden a couple years ago, it was just like I was ready to kick somebody's ass after. So,
well, also I think the part that people think of when they think of that song and they know that song, they think of the ending, right?
That part when it picks up at the end. Yeah,
and then he's just screaming freedom over and over and over again. But that's not what I said, and that's not what they did. They did exactly what I said, which was to take it right from the jump because it hits you like a sucker punch. That song, I love that song. I love that album. That first album to me.
Oh God, it's amazing.
Anyway, on to the New York Giants. We do have some news, some headlines. Let's jump right into it. We got 2 really big ones here. They're both injury related. Malik Nabers, despite being hurt a while ago now from a Thursday night game to a 10 days rest, didn't play last week against Seattle, is still in the concussion protocol. Now remember, we are recording this Thursday night, so you guys are listening to this Friday morning. Today, for you guys, for everyone listening, is a huge day because if he doesn't practice Friday, then I don't think that there's any shot. I think it's mathematically he will not play Sunday. The interesting thing about this, other than it, I guess we'll take this 2 ways. One is everybody is different and everyone recovers differently from concussions. There is no normal timetable, I don't think, but there is a set protocol based on symptoms. So he is not progressing through that symptom wise. But what's interesting about this is that he did more on Wednesday than he did on Thursday. And normally that means that symptoms returned after doing some work, after, dehydrating yourself a little bit, running around, doing exercises. I don't think he took any shots or anything in practice because he was limited anyway. I think he was just running on the side on Wednesday. Now, there are pictures of him at a Travis Scott concert at MetLife from Wednesday night. Let's talk about this, but I want you to go first.
Well, I'm always going to err on the side of caution. If he's not ready to go, I would rest him another week. It's too valuable. This guy is, until we ever draft that marquee quarterback or that franchise, this guy is going to be the face of the franchise. And, if it means he has to sit out another week, so be it. I'd rather him be completely ready to go the following week. I know it's a primetime game. I know that NBC refused CBS requests to swap out that game to get it, the Baltimore-Washington game instead. But it's more important that he is healthy, and we don't want to mess around with concussions and the head injury. So if he doesn't play, I'm completely fine with that. It's no one game is worth it, especially a game in early October.
So I agree with you. Normally, I would say there is a concussion protocol. It is not the Giants' team doctors that tell if he advances in that. It's an independent doctor, supposedly. So normally, I would say if the doctors clear him, play him, because it's not your team doctors anymore. This is an independent doctor saying he is good to do his job.
Mm-hmm.
In 2024, with this team, at this point in the season and at this point in Nabers' career, I agree with you. Even if he practices on Friday, I'm cool with him sitting Sunday. Nevertheless, I'm going to talk about the Travis Scott concert because in a vacuum, this is not that serious to me. The point being here is that in concussion rehab, I guess you would call it, recovery is what I was looking for there. You are supposed to be avoiding bright lights and loud sounds. And I can assure you that at that concert were both bright lights and loud sounds. So in a vacuum, this one incident to me is not very important. However, if things like this accumulate, it is no longer nothing. And this is kind of the same position I had with Kadarius Toney's cleats not fitting in rookie mini camp and him not showing up for a day or whatever and just kind of bailing. In that one little thing, it really doesn't mean anything. But when you look at Kadarius Toney 6 months later and then a year later, you realize that one little thing at the beginning was really a harbinger of things to come.
Yeah, see, I was even going to go back to having Odell Beckham PTSD also, where a couple of little things, they start adding up. And right now, Malik Nabers, like I said, he's positioning himself to be the face of this franchise. Everybody loves him. Nobody has, a negative thing to say about him, but it's like erosion. The wind keeps kind of, takes some of the pebbles and the particles off, and it keeps rubbing. At some point, it collapses. So let's also be kind of fair. This is a 22-year-old kid who is getting his first taste of being a star in the biggest city in the world. And, it's not this, I don't equate this necessarily with like, well, he was at a club at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. getting hammered or getting in a situation that, the legal authorities might be involved or something. This feels a little bit more like a perception thing and I remember the last time this happened. So it's not smart, but I think we've built to this in our brains, in our memories, that we're raising an eyebrow a little more than we normally would.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree. This has no correlation to something like being out at a club, possible legal situations, nothing like that at all. I don't want to make it elevated to that point. I do think it's careless, though. And, I'm not disagreeing with what you say about him being a 22-year-old kid. He's getting his first taste. However, and this isn't what you said, but I'm sure that there will be people that have this position, which is, athletes are just humans too. They should be able to live their lives too. No, they don't, and no, they don't. They get paid millions of dollars. Their bodies are their careers. They signed a contract, and they are held to different standards. This is not comparable to the working man's job. Don't compare it to that. It's a 10-year career at most. Not at most, but that's a high average. That would be very high for a short time for lots of money. I'll do whatever you want. I'll avoid concerts. I mean, I can go to concerts when I'm 33 and I'm retired and I have tons and tons of money.
You won't be some old boomer who's going to a concert. If you're 33, you'll be right there. So
go fly and see Travis Scott in Europe in the off season. That's fine. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't want to. I hate that position where athletes should be able to live their lives too. No, they shouldn't. They are held to a different standard for a reason, because it's a different job with different money. The same way politicians shouldn't be able to trade stocks that they control.
Well,
now,
remember,
I'm not going to make it political, but just as a comparison.
Well, remember, a guy like Nabers, from the day he started playing football at 10 years old and he realized this kid is better than everybody else, has probably had next to nobody tell him no. Whether it is other kids in his school, to teachers, to getting recruited to go to college, in college, people kissing your ass before the draft, all this thing. Nobody tells you no. And when you build up a callus to yes or potentially no, is you think you can do whatever you want and you think you are Superman. So now you're an adult. Now you have responsibilities. Now you have to answer to other people and other organizations, and a lot of responsibility on you. You have to learn how to say no. And some people get it right away, and some people have to learn the harder way. So,
I mean, and that's a little bit of speculation on our part. This may have been a lot more innocuous. Like I said, in a vacuum, this is the only thing I can think of that he's done. That whatever. So it's nothing right now.
Was he wearing like?
He's wearing
sunglasses. Was he wearing earplugs? I don't know.
He was wearing sunglasses in the one photo I've seen. So but still, I mean, it's just irresponsible. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're moving away from whatever. The other issue is Kayvon Thibodeaux apparently had wrist surgery the other morning. Dable was incredibly tight-lipped about when exactly this happened. It happened in a game. He didn't say in the last game or whatever. There was some discomfort there. They, scanned him, I guess, found a broken bone. He got a screw inserted. He keeps saying he's week to week. I think if a player had to amputate a foot, they would be week to week under Brian Dable. So that means nothing. Dan Duggan kind of predicted somewhere around 4 to 6 weeks. But I guess we'll see. I don't know. He plays a position in which he could possibly play with a cast on. You know what I mean? So we'll see, but I don't expect him to play Sunday.
Yeah, it was crazy because I was on my non-Giants Twitter burner account following news about the hurricane coming. So I don't have any, I don't follow the Giants or anything. I'm just kind of get news. And somehow something slipped in there about, it'll be about 4 to 6 weeks. And I was like, what? Like, I wasn't doing research for the show. I like, when did he get hurt? And I was thinking back to the game, and I don't remember seeing him getting hurt. Went back in all the notes and everything, and I don't see anywhere where he got hurt. So it was just kind of, that really came out of left field, and it was completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible it happened, in a prior game, and then it got further dinged up in the last game, and that's when he kind of really decided to get it scanned. I don't know. But the remaining injuries did not practice. The only other ones were Bryce Ford-Wheaton with a shoulder injury and John Runyon with illness. I would expect both of those guys to play. If Bryce Ford-Wheaton doesn't play on Sunday, I don't think it's a massive deal. Limited were Brian Burns with a groin, DJ Davidson with a shoulder, Adoree again with the calf, still limited, Drew Phillips still with the calf, and Devin Singletary with the groin. But otherwise, a fairly clean injury report for the Giants.
Yeah, the Burns one kind of concerns me a bit because even if he was limited or something, he does play. If he's not 100%, and we also don't have Kayvon,
Sure.
that's the secret sauce right now for the Giants. Well, I guess it's not such a secret anymore. Is the pass rush, and we're leading the league in sacks and sack rate. Um, we had more sacks in the last two games than Cincinnati's had all year.
Mm.
That tells you the rate, which we saw there was a concentrated effort to get more pressure on the quarterback. And for the most part, we've been doing that and a lot lately. And now, when you have a guy like Joe Burrow, if he has, this much more time to throw, he'll pick our bones. So that's scary to me.
On the flip side, Cincinnati has a number of people limited as well, including both of their running backs, Zach Moss and Chase Brown, were limited. Tight end Mike Gesicki. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Sheldon Rankins and Joseph Osai, both limited as well. But most importantly, I think, is that Dax Hill tore his ACL and is on IR.
Yes.
And that's a significant blow to the back end of that defense.
Hey, going back real quick to us, did you mention Devin Singletary's status?
I did. Dan, he's still limited with a groin. I think both Jordan Renan and Dan Duggan are expecting him to play. And that's good because I don't want to see Eric Gray touch the football ever again.
I don't ever want to see him on the field ever again. But,
Yeah.
and Tyron Tracy had a great game last week, but
It's also a rookie.
it's also unreasonable to think that's going to be the standard. If he's going to get 7 point whatever yards a carry,
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. But, I think I want to have my number one receiver and have him as a change of pace, which, gives us more options and everything. So, but we'll have to just see, in warm-ups and stuff if he's out there.
We'll get into the offense now since we're talking about it, but I would like to see kind of a better split between Singletary and Tracy. Like, I agree with you. I don't expect Tracy to be averaging 7 yards a carry. Forgetting numbers, I don't expect Tracy to look that amazing week after week after week.
Yeah.
That being said, I hope that he has shown enough to the coaching staff and the offensive line has shown enough to the coaching staff that there can be a better split between Singletary and him. At this point, Singletary also fumbling the ball just about once per game, and in crucial spots as well.
Yeah, no bueno.
But otherwise has been a good back, but also on the older side. I think Tyrone Tracy also has a different skill set. I actually think they form a really cool 1-2 punch because, Singletary, he is fast. He can jump cut. He has great vision, but he also is a thicker guy that I can see like lower his shoulder and just run through guys. Where Tyrone Tracy, I think he has more nimble movement and more speed to him.
Well, let's also talk, a good 1-2 punch. We have a 1-2-3 punch because Daniel Jones can run the ball too. And I think we saw a little more running. I had said before the game I want to see him, use his wheels a little more, be a little more liberal in his running, and I think we saw a little more of it. So, that just helps with the RPO. That just helps with keeping your defense on its toes. So, if you have three guys, you have to kind of respect their legs in addition to this kind of very efficient, simplified, passing game. Now you're really starting to cook with gas a little bit.
Yeah, and when I look at this offensively, I don't know what I'm supposed to be afraid of about this Bengals defense. It's not bad. There's no specific weak spot, I don't think. But I don't really know if there's a strong spot. I mean, this is like a super mid defense. There's not much to bitch about, but there's not a whole lot to, brag about either. Sam Hubbard is, something, but I'm not really worried about Andrew Thomas or Jermaine Illuminator at this point dealing with a pretty good pass rusher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they have not really been effective at all rushing the passer all year.
No, and
they only
on the
back 6
end,
sacks for the whole season. I mean, Dexter Lawrence has 6.
Yeah. On the back end, they're not really that impressive either. I mean, Von Bell is a very mid safety, kind of more of like a hitter.
Yeah.
In the run game. Cam Taylor-Britt is very everybody I name is very whatever.
Yeah.
Dax Hill is like probably the most athletic guy they had back there, maybe, and he's out. So I don't know. I don't really see anywhere that's like they should game plan to attack this, but I also don't see anything where it's like they have to game plan to watch out for this. So for me, this is very much a run your offense kind of game. This is a take the shots where they present themselves, see how they progress throughout the game, see how they're playing you, see how they're lining up, and just, run your fucking offense. Be Brian Dable, right?
I think we kind of expand on what we did last week. I think we try to establish the run again, but I think we take a couple more, now again, not bombs, but don't be afraid to open up the offense a little more. But I think, I loved, having a drive that took 9-10 minutes. We established it early. And when you start in a game where all of a sudden you look at the first quarter stats and it's 10 minutes to 5 minutes, or we had an absurd like 13-2. That's great in the first quarter, but that's going to carry over when you get to the fourth quarter because you're going to have tired defenses, when by the time you get to, 5 minutes left in the game, 6 minutes left in the game. So I think, we are starting to see the foundation of what they want to do on offense with this roster they have right now. And I think we just kind of keep expanding on that. My faith in Brian Dable is really, kind of at a peak right now, even more so than, the year one hosannas we were singing to him, that I feel like he's a guy who's now I'm starting to feel like, well, I'll coach you too, in addition to out executing. So I expect to see some wrinkles off of that initial game plan, but that's what I would do. I'd stick to what's doing best for this team because we're not good enough to try to be fancy.
I guess if there's one note of something I want to see in this game, other than splitting reps between Singletary and Tracy without any Eric Gray at all, I want to see if there's a way that they can kind of force Hyatt onto the field and just kind of in my head, it would be awesome if this week they had practiced really hard on Jalen Hyatt doing just comeback routes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just press your speed to the sticks and then put your foot in the ground and turn around and work that play with Daniel Jones, get the timing, and then I don't even care if you hit the deep shots, but then run the double move off of it and just let them be afraid of it, A, and B, let them foul him. Let them hold him. Let them pass interference. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fine with Malik Nabers not playing this game if needed, but I am not ready to just rely on Darius Slayton every single week. And I'm not ready to rely on Wan'Dale Robinson breaking 7 tackles and taking pretty heavy shots every single week.
And also relying a lot on Theo Johnson, too, because he's also taking up the slack.
He's a rookie, and he did not contribute a whole lot in the passing game at Michigan. It's something I think he can do, but it's not like he has mountains of experience doing it.
Yeah, and again, it's not even so much not to get him on the field, it's actually targeting. We pointed out the numbers in the last episode that I don't have the numbers in front of me now, but he had something like 47 snaps and he ran 30-something routes. So it's not a question of him not being on the field. It's just we're not looking in his direction. Mm-hmm. And, and if we, I know there's a big asterisk next to him of like, well, the offense we're trying to run right now doesn't really work for a guy with his kind of skill set. But if we can't do basic things like a hitch,
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
then I have a lot more concerns about Jalen Hyatt than I do about the offense or anything else.
Do you have anything else on the offense before we switch over to this other side of the ball?
No. Again, we have found that equilibrium, I think, with what Daniel Jones can do, and it seems to be working. I just, like I said, just keep expanding what we're doing right now. And I think we can be, assuming, we are in pretty good health-wise. I know the headlines are hurt, but this offensive line is healthy. Just let's I think this offense can be more and more efficient as we go each week.
Flipping over to the defense, when I look at this Bengals team, and specifically when I watch what happened to them last week against the Baltimore Ravens, the middle of this offensive line stinks. They're not good, man.
Dexter Lawrence probably has a boner already.
I certainly do. I think if Burrow dropped back 55 times against the Ravens, I think he must have been hit on 45 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is taking a shot every time he drops back. Every single time. Now, I will say, the interior of that offensive line is only really shitty in pass protection. They're not so bad in the run game, and that's going to be like a problem here. I am not really scared of Zach Moss or Chase Brown too much. They're capable backs. They're both hurt. But they're capable backs. So if there are running lanes and we are not great against the run, we've been kind of hit or miss against the run this year.
Yeah.
We've been very bad at times, but we've also been okay at times.
Right.
But I mean, nothing will make Joe Burrow's life easier than being able to just hand the ball to somebody and letting them get first down. So I think that this is sort of the same game plan as last week because they're not really all that different of teams. The Seattle Seahawks had 3 really good wide receivers with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. The Cincinnati Bengals have 3 really good receivers with, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Isaac Yoshivas. Sorry, I couldn't think of his name. They also have, good quarterbacks. And Joe Burrow, I think, is much better than Geno Smith, but perfectly capable quarterbacks. Neither one of them is super mobile. They have bad offensive lines. They took a lot of shots, and I think Seattle probably has the better running back duo with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet than Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Sorry, the Jamar Chase and Chase Brown thing is really screwing up my math.
Good thing you don't have Chase Young. You'd really be screwed.
Yeah, really. So I think the game plan is kind of the same. Be physical against these wide receivers to take away the quick game, get pressure up the middle and in Joe Burrow's face, and stop the run. I really think that they should be able to do all of those things. They have shown me now that they can be physical on the outside. They have shown me that they can stop the run, and they have shown that they can pressure directly in the middle in the A-gap.
I think a lot of this also is predicated on our offense. I think if we can kind of control the clock, get a lead, that kind of, takes away a lot of their running game and it forces them to throw more and you can pin your ears back. If we have a, 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter and they have to abandon the run, Dexter Lawrence, like I said, he's going to have a stiffy. I think this is going to be kind of a situational game to me more than, if we're down, we're down most of the game and we're down 17 or 10 or something, they're going to lean on their running game more. But if we can get them we can, tilt the field in our way and get them out of and force them to throw more. I think that's ironically a little bit to our advantage.
In terms of game planning here, should we do the prediction first? Should we revisit our prediction and then go into?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, all right. So here's what we thought way back in July or June or whenever it was.
This looks like a loss to me. This looks like a loss. This looks like if Joe Burrow is healthy and all their weapons are there, I think this is one of those games where we classically look bad in a primetime game, and I think we lose loss in pen.
I disagree. I think that this is a win in pencil. I think it has a lot to do with some birthday mojo. But I think more than that, it's that when I look at the Cincinnati Bengals team, I feel like I have been saying that the Bengals offensive line stinks for just as long as I've been saying about the Giants offensive line. The interior of this offensive line still looks like shit to me. Joe Burrow is probably the only one that looks more brittle than Daniel Jones back there. He's just a thin, wiry guy. Our evidence for Joe Burrow being an elite quarterback is kind of 1 year, right? Because college counts, but it doesn't count. I think that Zach Moss, I've already talked about as being someone I just don't believe in, but that's a clear downgrade at running back from Joe Mixon to Zach Moss. Quite frankly, when I look at the depth chart on defense, I'm not that scared of it. When I look at this, I think that playing at home, and then you play a team like Cincinnati where, yeah, you have Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, and they went out and got Eric All at tight end, and maybe that's something there, and Jermaine Burton at wide receiver, but I don't know. I don't know, man. I
I
feel like
went
this is a
to
win in pencil. Okay, so I feel relatively the same. You know what I mean? I see this game as a potential win. I don't think it's a runaway win, although it's hard to tell because last week could have been a runaway win. Um, I agree with just about everything I said from the summer. I'm not too
yeah.
far off, but here's where like I said before, like I don't see a huge difference between stopping Metcalf and Lockett and Smith and Jigba versus Chase and Higgins and Yoshivas. But there is a huge difference between Geno and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow
Right.
is a very good passer. He's a very smart quarterback, and losing Kayvon is a huge issue because
I
you're going to rely on Azeez Ojulari now to be stopping the run. I think Azeez can rush the passer fine, but Cincinnati's tackles are not terrible, and they could just probably barrel through him and just do stretch plays to the side. So I think they're going to be playing with a lot more linebacker help over Ojulari. Maybe Boogie Basham will be playing in situations that we don't love. Maybe Drew Phillips is going to be in, or Dane Belton or Tyler Nubin playing down low to the line of scrimmage to help Ojulari. It's just, and Brian Burns isn't great against the run either. So this now, I think, I know Kayvon doesn't really play like a top 5 edge rusher, but he is a very complete edge presence.
and
Whereas
he's
Burns
part of the
and
package, and he's part of the whole package of the defensive the pass pressure we put on people.
right,
We're
and
not
that,
relying on him to be great. He's part of the total package we have.
it's a fair criticism to say that he doesn't look like a top 5 edge rusher, but he is not by any means a bust or bad player.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, on offense, like I'm not as worried about like a Cincy mid-tier defense. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to sustain a ton of games without Malik Nabers, but regardless, like, control the clock, protect Daniel Jones, protect the ball. They should be able to score points against this defense. I think that this could be down to the last minute. This could be another situation in which McPherson has a kick to win situation. I am going to say with birthday mojo, the New York Giants are going to win this game 30-28.
That would be the best present of all. This is an interesting game to me because, the records don't reflect either team because both teams could very well be, 3-2 right now. If bounces went the right way or situations kind of dictated, they're not playing like teams that are 2-3. And what's Cincinnati? They're 1-4, whatever they are.
Yeah, I mean, but they blew a 10-point lead with like 9 minutes left last week.
Yeah,
and a chance to win. Never mind, go on.
Yeah, but I'm saying though is like, when you think of a team that's 1-4, does this team kind of fit that mold of like a 1-4 team? Like this team doesn't strike me as being a Carolina mediocre bad team. It's just I think, and also the way the Giants have been. You think the Giants might be like a 1-5 mediocre team, but they're actually playing better than that with better chances to win. My point being, I think this is going to be a better game than if the casual fan were like, okay, who's playing tonight? Oh, a team that's 1-4 and a team that's 2-3. Not exciting. So, I think the difference between, Geno Smith and Joe Burrow is I think Geno Smith is better because of the system he's in. I think Joe Burrow is just a better quarterback. And, Joe Burrow frightens me. I have PTSD for Joe Burrow going back to college. And every time I see him and Jamar Chase, I'm like, oh, Jesus. I feel a game like this, 1 or 2 big plays may separate the two of us. I think that I think the Giants are better than people think they are. And I think this game is going to be close. I feel like there may be one busted coverage and Jamar Chase runs loose and scores, and that's the difference. Otherwise, I think that we continue to control the clock. I think the running game keeps going. I think we kind of make Cincinnati one-dimensional in the passing game. I think we do a reasonably good job in the secondary, but I think there's going to be like 1 or 2 plays that are like, oh, God damn it. And that's why we lose. I think we are going to lose 20 6-17.
So do you feel, it sounds like you feel a little bit more positive than you did in the summer.
I do.
Okay.
I feel positive because, number one, the offensive line is doing better than I thought it would do, and I think that's the driver of almost everything with this team. This offense has been so bad. Okay, we've gone down to four-string quarterbacks, in the last couple of years, but the beginning of the end has always been the fact that this offensive line has been terrible. And this offensive line, again, last week, that offensive line dominated the game. It controlled the line of scrimmage. It allowed us to have long, backbreaking drives. And let's see if this is a trend that continues. If it is, I'll be more and more feeling better about myself. Was that just an anomaly? Because the running game has been hit and miss. And also Daniel Jones, and again with a credit to Brian Daboll, is playing better. He's the turnovers are way down. The interceptions are way down. The decisions are better. We put him in a better position to succeed than maybe he has been in the past. So yeah, I feel the biggest problem, and we discussed this for years, the problem is this team can't score. And the potential for scoring is greater. We keep getting better in the red zone, keep doing the little things, we'll be okay. So I am feeling cautiously optimistic that this team is on the rebound. I'm not ready to talk about playoffs or anything crazy, but it's not a binary world. It's not playoffs or bust. It's this team getting better, and I definitely feel like this team is getting better.
Washington is going to figure out whether or not they are actually getting better or if they are just kind of playing teams that don't really know what's going on with their new quarterback. They are facing Baltimore in Baltimore in what should be a DMV slugfest.
God.
I think I've thought for a while that Washington was going to start hot with the whole changeover, and eventually people would figure out exactly what to do. I think that the Giants defensively knew how to stop Washington, and they just the offense shit the bed and couldn't punch it in that game. And had they had a kicker and not a huge mishap with that, we'd have a different situation. I think Baltimore wins this game. I think they're just better.
I think I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid.
Okay.
I think I'm going to take Washington. I think I haven't done the research, but anecdotally, it seems like after that Giant game, they've cut Daniels loose a little bit. It seems like he's throwing downfield more than he was. I think whatever training wheels they might have had on him in the first couple of weeks because he was, a raw rookie playing, I think they're kind of melting those away. And I think this team has potential to be pretty explosive a lot. So I much like, to me, like, prove it Giants that you can win a game like this. This is one of those, well, let's prove Washington they can't win a game like this. So I'm gonna go on a limb a little bit and say they do win.
Dallas is hosting the Detroit Lions. I guess I'm feeling a little sour on the NFC East because I think the Lions win this game.
Does this feel like a game? This game's in Dallas, right?
Yep.
Doesn't it feel like there's a potential there could be like 40,000 Lion fans there?
It does. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think because there's going to be 40,000 Lion fans there, I think they go into Dallas and they win. I don't think, I don't think the Cowboys' problems are solved or anything. Short week, even shorter because that game ended at like 5 a.m. It feels like. I think there's still a lot of problems in that locker room and with the coaching and everything. I think Detroit's going to go in there and win.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, the score might be like not that bad, but I think it's going to be kind of a whooping.
Yeah, and I said the wrong thing. I keep getting my Sunday night and Monday night games confused for saying short week. That was the Sunday night game, but also it did end at like 4 a.m. It felt
That's
like
true.
so.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a little
It was a
shorter
Monday
because
morning game.
exactly. So yeah. So point taken though that I they're gonna be one of those schizophrenic teams, Dallas, where I think if I pick them in all 17 weeks, I might be wrong 13 times. But I don't think I'm gonna be wrong this week.
Philadelphia Eagles will be hosting Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. I don't believe the Cleveland Browns can win anything until I see it. They look like absolute fucking garbage. Deshaun Watson looks, I don't know. He looks like a bottom third quarterback right now. I mean, like, to the point where, like, I know his offense is failing him. I know his offensive line is failing him, but this is like the opposite of elevating your team. And
Yeah,
he looks completely inept. I think the Eagles, as much as I don't believe in what's going on in Philadelphia, this is going to be a no contest for the Eagles, I think.
I'm no sports psychologist, but you just see him that he can't even complete a basic pass. You see him just airmailing like 7-yard little outs to a running back, and this has all got to be a lot on him. And I'm not saying it's not his fault, obviously not, but he has a lot of pressure that, it was a huge franchise altering trade to get him, signs this insane contract coming off all of the legal, and civil problems he has, a fan base that hates his guts, the media hates his guts, the league hates his guts, and he's playing like a guy who has the weight of his world on his shoulders. And again, that's not to excuse him. I think it's just a fact. And he's going to play in Philly this week. That's not the city of brotherly love, man. They're gonna, that's gonna be a rough fan base.
They're gonna love watching him get pummeled to the ground too.
Oh God,
it will be a rough time for him.
If they celebrated when Michael Irving had the concussion that one time, they're gonna have a ticker tape parade if they knock his ass out of the game.
And that's week 6. So
week 6 already. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that only one coach has been fired, right?
I can't wait for that documentary to come out about why Robert Saleh was fired. It just sounds like Woody Johnson one day just decided I'm firing his ass, didn't tell anybody, and had security escort him out of the room.
I'm not gonna. I don't know.
Very Jetsy.
Yeah, it's such a Jetsy move. I'm not gonna say I totally disagree, but the whole situation is kind of funny. It happens about 5 minutes after he takes play calling duties away from Nathaniel Hackett. Then he's gone. Then the interim head coach comes in and they take play calling duties away from Nathaniel Hackett. So, there could be 1,000 million reasons it happened. It may even be the right decision because it's early enough in the year where they just feel like this head coach is not it and they're still in the window and don't let this season go down the toilet. I'm not saying it may be the wrong decision, but it is so... And I mean, this is like a bad Hollywood script about like the Jets 4. You know what I mean?
And the search for Spock.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and then you have Aaron Rodgers on some podcast lying through his nose, like, I was completely unaware. I had nothing to do with it. Okay, Aaron. Let me throw a name out for you, Grump, as we leave that would, A, solve a lot of problems for me, and B, be extremely Jetsy of a hire. Take one guess who that guy would be.
Jetsy as a hire is where you lost me. I don't know.
Lane Kiffin.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the rumor mill down in Gainesville is he's going to be our next head coach, which I will jump off a 13-story building if it happens.
I have to find a new co-host.
Exactly, because I will go out in a blaze of glory. But also, that is the exact type of move the Jets would get. A guy who is all hype, all fluff, with zero results. Guy that was so bad that Al Davis, I think it was almost like a legal case that Al Davis had against him when they fired him. It was a complete mess. He's been a failure everywhere he's been, but he's a personality and he's a snake oil salesman and he's a charmer. And I can absolutely 100% see the Jets bringing him in.
I'll have to bookmark this for the offseason.
I'm just saying, especially let's say Ole Miss, they make the playoffs still, and maybe they win a game, and They have the same agent. He has the same agent, Sexton, Jimmy Sexton, who reps like half the coaches in college. And one or two things will happen. Either the Jets will hire him, or the Jets will be used as leverage for Lane to either stay at Ole Miss or go to Florida. But I just have that. It just seems too perfect for me. That match made in hell.
I like that theory. With that, we're going to leave it there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and of course, YouTube. And you can also follow us on Twitter at @football_grump, at the Cranky Fan, at Just Giants Pod. And we will see you all Tuesday morning for our review podcasts. Until then, go Giants.
Go Giants.